Well, hello again, everybody. Um, we decided we'd kick off something a little new here on this channel. We haven't done this before. Decided to try to do like a one-on-one conversation, if you will, with anybody that wants to chime in, post their comments here in the comments section, ask questions about history, just talk about the American Civil War in general. I'm going to highlight from time to time some books and some articles that I've read about different soldiers that fought during the American Civil War. And I might even have a couple of things to show and tell along the way, if you will. But also, this is mostly to connect with the people that are coming in and watching my videos here on this channel. So, if at any point in time you want to ask a question or you want to fire away with something and get the ball rolling, you just let me know and we'll get to talking. So, before I go too long into this, first I want to talk about a book that's it's kind of been inspirational a little bit to me over the last couple of years on how I do research for the videos that we're conducting here on YouTube. This book right here, Gettysburg Rebels. I can't praise this book enough. It's written by author Tom McMillan, and Tom pops in on our Twitter handle or our X feed from time to time and says hello to people. This book is absolutely excellent when it comes to talking about an individual soldier's experience during the American Civil War. Um, for this particular book, it goes into a deep dive on Confederate soldiers that were from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. These young boys grew up in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. They moved away. They ended up in other locations like Virginia, for example. And then somehow along the way, they find themselves in the service of the Confederate Army, finding their way back to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania to fight on their own land. And for example, Mr. Wentz himself not only entered into the Confederate Army to come back to Gettysburg to fight, but his artillery was placed in position on 2 acres of land that his own father gave to him in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And that's all wrapped up right here in this book. So when I reached out to Tom McMillan and I was talking to him about how it is that he goes about researching, he tells me this story about how he gets into first wanting to write this book, and then one nugget after the next starts leading to this developing story that he didn't even know if he had a full book for. But the information that he finds along the way, with the help of many people who just decide to give him a hand, is astonishing. Now, I've been asked before, how is it that you come up with the stories that you come up with when you're talking about these individual soldiers on these battlefields and you're creating these videos? Well, it's plain and simple. It's right back here on the shelf behind me. It's on 3 bookcases back there in my little library that I have. It's book after book, and then reaching out to historians and public historians and talking to them. I have a few friends who work for the National Park Service, and I reach out to them every once in a while and I ask them questions as well. But here we have a simple magazine called America's Civil War. And in this magazine is 12 unsung heroes. So this is kind of an example of what I would go through when I'm going to tell these stories. First, I read the story, check out the author, and then I go look for any kind of source documents or anything that can corroborate this story so that when I'm telling it to the fullest amount of truth and I'm not leaving anything out. And also, you kind of have to be leery of some things because sometimes people try to skew the story based on what their preference is. And you want to get right down to the root of history when you're telling these stories and be real with people about it. For this story here is Corporal Francis A. Waller. And in the story, written by Larry Korzek, it was issued in Guide number 254 and was licensed in 2012. Um, it says late in the morning on July 1st, 1863, the 6th Wisconsin Infantry, one of 5 regiments in Union Brigadier General Solomon Meredith's 1st Brigade in the 1st Corps and the 1st Division, was ordered to charge Confederate positions north of the Chambersburg Pike, west of Gettysburg. Within the ranks of the regiment company was a 22-year-old Corporal, Francis Asbury Waller, who had been born in Ohio but moved with his family to Wisconsin in the early 1840s, standing 5'8.5" tall. So now this is kind of a key element to me. When I'm talking about this soldier, I don't want to just tell you some boring story about something that took place a long time ago. I want you to be able to understand that this is a real human being we're talking about here. If I can get details off of his records, for example, the documents that you pull up from the American Civil War, What were the color of this man's eyes? What was the color of his hair? What was his height, his weight? Maybe we can talk about he was a taller than average person, make him a real person to you. Frank Waller sported a light complexion, sandy hair, and blue eyes. After this day, he would become known as a brave soldier as ever to fight in our ranks. During the charge, the 6th Wisconsin, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Rufus Dawes, came under severe musket fire on its front. Dawes' men quickly scaled two fence lines straddling the pike and charged across an open field toward awaiting Confederates, who had taken position within an unfinished railroad cut. Now, this is this infamous railroad cut that's in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and as you go into town, you cross over a bridge to a portion of the battlefield. You can actually see the railroad that's in place there and those extremely high banks that would be forever known as the railroad cut. As Wisconsin soldiers approached the cut, a Confederate color bearer defiantly waved his flag in their direction, spurring the Badger State boys to make a mad dash for the flag. The color bearer, Corporal W. B. Murphy of the 2nd Mississippi and Major General Henry Heth's division of Lieutenant General A. P. Hill's Corps, later said that the Federals kept rushing for my flag, and there were over a dozen shot down like sheep in the mad rush for the colors. Murphy admitted, however, that a large, burly man made a mad rush for me and the flag. As I tore the flag from the staff, he took hold of me and the colors. That soldier was Corporal Waller. I did take the flag out of the color bearer's hands, Waller later revealed. I thought about moving to the rear, but then I thought I would stay. I threw it down and loaded and fired twice on it. Waller, on the 6th, had captured 230 Confederates, and Waller received the Medal of Honor, December of 1864. So this is the individual we're talking about here. You can see him there on the page. It's a pretty amazing story to talk about. And what's even better is when you take your cameras out to a field and you go to a location where you know where that stuff happened. You stand there, you read that story, or you memorize it, and you try to contextualize and try to make it real and human for people to know and feel when they're in that field. You don't have to blow it up and turn it into something it's not. This isn't a Tom Cruise movie. You're just simply giving history and you're telling them something amazing happened right here on this field where I'm standing right now. Well, here pretty soon tomorrow, we're going to have a video coming up from Petersburg where we're actually talking about the Battle of the Crater. And there's portions of the battlefield that you can only get to if you go to a cemetery at the Blandford Church. We're going to take our way from there to the crater, walk around the crater, which right now isn't accessible because of a washout of the roads over there. And we're going to actually talk about this battle that unfolded there, but we're going to dive a little bit deeper on the different locations where everybody was located, why this failed so badly, and what happened to the African American soldiers that went into this fight. It was a pretty big failure on the part of the United States Army at that time, what they did with those soldiers prior to that battle, what they did during that battle, and what happened to them after that battle. But we'll also talk about the positions of these soldiers and other soldiers that are on the field, and then we'll finish it off there at the cemetery. And I'm currently trying to get down to the bottom of a story I talked about earlier, where there were World War I veterans buried on the outskirts of where Blandford Church's cemetery is. So it's kind of in an in-between zone. I'm not exactly sure who owns that cemetery, but there's a whole bunch of veterans that are buried out there, and the grass and trees are grown up around it to the point to where you can't visit it hardly anymore. And it's just an amazing, crazy thing to see all these World War I veterans' stones covered in grass and trees and inaccessible to anybody, and no kind of veneration or anything for these men that sacrificed their lives at one point. So, but that's pretty much what we're going to start doing here from now on. I'm going to try to put out a live stream every now and again and have you guys come on and not only talk to me and maybe shoot the breeze about history a little bit, but kind of also let me know what it is that you want to see. Talk to me and sway my stuff. I mean, this content is for you guys out there. It's for the viewers to watch. It's I can go to these battlefields all day long by myself and it is what it is. I'll have fun doing it. But realistically, it's all for you guys to come out and check out. And if I know what you want to see, the content gets to be even better. So, anybody out there have any questions? Go ahead and put them in the chat box now. Otherwise, I think we're about to wrap this thing up here, and I'm going to head off to the next location for filming. All right. Well, looks like we don't have any questions in the chat box. Well, I appreciate everybody coming and tuning in. And check out this book from Tom McMillan, Gettysburg Rebels. Give it a shot. Hold on, digging it, Mark H. So what got you doing war videos? Okay. Well, I've always had a deep-rooted passion for American history since I was a kid. A long time ago, when I was just a child, we couldn't afford to go to Disney World. We couldn't afford to even go out to the swimming pool. We didn't have anything to entertain ourselves with. And my dad was a big fan of the national parks because we knew you could go to a national park for free. And a lot of times in national parks, there's museums there. There are videos to tell you about the history that happened there. And of course, there's national park rangers that will gladly take you out to the field and give you a lesson on history. Well, when you're a broke kid living in South Carolina and North Carolina and all that, I mean, you really don't have much options. So you go out there and you start to daydream about what it was like for these guys that were fighting on these fields. And then it just starts to become an obsession. And then I want to say it was about fifth grade, maybe, I opened up a Civil War history book, and it had all of these wonderful maps where you open it up and you see the combat that's taking place. It's just like tiny little soldiers all over the field. It was the strategic part that I started to become obsessed with, and I wanted to see the topography to get to understand the battle better. So really, that's what got me started. Any more videos on Irish Brigade or Irish Regiments, 9th Massachusetts at Gaines Mill? That's from Thomas. Yeah, actually, we are going to start rolling into our Irish stuff here pretty soon. I have a couple of videos that are coming up on the Irish Brigade. One from the work or the fight that happened in Antietam, and then Gaines Mill. We are going to dig a little bit deeper on what the Irish did out at Gaines Mill. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to see as far as Irish Brigade's concerned? I apologize if there's any lag time here. It's a live stream, so. Irish Brigade is definitely one of our top subjects. People ask about it all the time. It's a real good part of history, and we definitely would like to see more of it on here. Let's see. I would like to see about James McGee at Antietam. Such an amazing story that few people know about. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great one right there. James McGee. We're very familiar with that story, and we're definitely going to be covering that. I can't give a timeline on it just yet, but March of next year, we're going to cover a lot of stuff as far as Irish Brigade is concerned. And we are definitely trying to get up to Antietam to do some more stuff here, September timeframe. I like to hit these battlefields right around the time that the stuff happened. If I can get a better feel for the weather and everything, I'm kind of like Ed Barris in that sense. Ed Barris always talked about being on the field of battle when you're there and the weather is the way it was and you are in the place where it happened. It's the way he used to talk. And he's right. When you go out to these battlefields, if you're going out to the Battle of the Crater in the middle of winter, you're not going to get the feeling that you would get when you're there in July. And it's hot and it's humid and the trees are leafed out and you're trying to see these trenches that are all throughout there and try to understand what it would have been like to be a soldier coming across that field, going up that hill into sudden death in pitch black darkness at 4:40 in the morning. That's the kind of stuff I like to imagine. And the earlier the better. If I can get out on those fields when the sun's coming up, maybe before that, and there's just that haze in the sky. Sometimes when you get on a field to do a visual with a camera, if you get out there early enough and that sun just starts to come up, you can see those ripples in the ground that you can't capture on a camera when the sun's fully up in the sky. You did the 150th PVI at Gettysburg. How about the 149th PVI? That's a good idea. Charles Reynolds asked, he said, you did the 150th PVI at Gettysburg. How about 149th PVI? Yeah, no, that's a good idea for sure. What kind of ties do you have to the 149th that makes you interested in 149th? I wish we could turn this thing into like a live, everybody gets in here and talks kind of chat. Meantime, while we're waiting on an answer for that question, you guys won't believe what I picked up for $2. I'm not kidding either. You see the sticker there on the back of it. It says $2. Look at how large this tintype is. This is amazing. And the detail that's on these pictures, you can't really beat. Oh, reenacting them? Okay, so you're with 140, one of the reenactment units, 149th? Are you going out to Gettysburg for the next anniversary for Gettysburg? See, only the truest history fans will be sticking around for something like this. Then, of course, little documents like these. I like to get my hands on these as much as I possibly can. I don't know if you guys can see that. I probably shouldn't be touching this with my bare hands, but I have a whole bunch of commissary documents and things like that, and it kind of, there's signatures from the officers that were in charge or the staff officers. Let's see, have you ever thought about doing, Digging It says, have you ever thought about doing some Rev War stuff around South Carolina? Well, I actually did do Rev War stuff around South Carolina. I did the Battle of Cowpens, which is near and dear to my heart. It's one of my all-time favorite battlefields, even though it's just so small and so simple. And I did the Battle of Kings Mountain as well. Now, my North Carolina friends will say the Battle of Kings Mountain is North Carolina, but I firmly believe that both Cowpens and Kings Mountain is South Carolina. But we do have some plans of possibly pushing down into Charleston, and on the way, looking at doing Camden. I don't know if that's kind of more along the lines of what you're interested in. Let's see, did I miss anybody here? Nope. All right. Yeah, so in order to do these videos, you really have to expand on what you read to create this stuff. Thomas, any advice for comprising documents on units, officers? I am currently working on a document about men from 6 countries of modern-day Northern Ireland in the Civil War, from James Shield to Nugent. Documents. Oops. All right, let's see. Hang on, let me put this up on the screen here so everybody can read it. All right. So Thomas says, any advice for comprising documents on units and officers? I currently am working on a document about men from the 6 countries of modern day Northern Ireland in the Civil War, from James Shield to Nugent. Well, I mean, there's a lot of information that's out there that you can research. Also, I don't know if you have access, but you could be able to go online to the Library of Congress to be able to get information. The National Park Service has a very good soldiers and sailors database that you can search for just basic documents or just basic information on who fought for those units. And if you have an Ancestry account as well, a lot of the documents for those soldiers were on Fold 3, which is a website that has a lot of military information on it. That helps me out a lot too. And then, I mean, you just got to dig. As silly as it sounds. There's just so much information out there that it's kind of hard to compile it down into a tiny list. But if you ever get to the point where you're stuck on something, you can always post a comment in one of my videos, and I can do my best to see if I can answer one of those questions. And even there on the comments, I do answer almost every single comment that comes onto my videos, and I will post an answer to a question if you have one, or if you need some information. And I'll in some of my videos coming up about Ireland, what I'll do is I'll post some of the places that I went to find that information, and maybe that'll help you as well. Charles Reynolds says, I try every year, have the regimental history. Very cool. Very cool. That's good to hear. Digging it, Mark H. Absolutely. And feel free, if anybody else here has any kind of suggestions for Thomas, as far as the Irish Brigade is concerned, post it here. I'll put it on the screen for him to see. Digging it, Mark H. I would love to have you down to one of my club meetings for my metal detecting club. Where exactly is your metal detecting club at there, Mark? Your down might be my up. That's the reason why I'm asking. Ah, Walhalla, South Carolina. Okay, that's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah. If I make my way down to South Carolina, definitely I'll. I always put that information out in advance in case anybody ever wants to pop in and say hello or take a selfie or whatever and post it on their account. Because this is really just a grassroots effort on my part. I mean, this channel doesn't grow. Um, it doesn't grow without you all being there to be a part of this and ask questions, and without your participation and without your watching these videos. I mean, I'm just a guy with a camera roaming these fields making videos for nobody. So um, really, I enjoy telling these stories and being a part of the history community and trying to create something that somebody enjoys. That's my favorite part of this. When somebody tells me that they got some information out of it, or that they really loved what they saw, or maybe they liked a camera angle or something, that does me good right there. And then what's even better is when they take that video and they share it with someone else, and then all of a sudden I've got another person that wants to pop on and watch a video, and you know having that audience to connect with, and being able to have their guidance to tell me, hey, your vocals are too loud, or your videos they're too long, or we don't want to see as much of you on that video. We want to see the terrain. That kind of stuff helps out. Charles Reynolds, the PA State Archives have all the regimental papers you can look up. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Must add that to my list. There you go. See, we're already working. We're already working together here. Yeah, I understand. I do a couple of videos on YouTube as well about metal detecting. Oh man. Yeah. See, I've always been interested in metal detecting, but I'm always afraid to get out there and do that because I don't know. First of all, there's a lot of laws, especially in the state of Virginia, when it comes to metal detecting. Like you can't just go out and start doing it. And then, I mean, I've always been afraid that maybe I might bump into something that I don't want to bump into, accidentally uncover a grave or something like that, and that soldier sailor mentality in me doesn't really want to take the chance of doing that. But I think it's pretty cool, and it is a good part of finding historical items that we have out there. They're still to this day under the dirt and can tell a better story than the words themselves. It's very cool. Digging it, Mark H. I'm gonna put you on the stage here. If anybody out there has not seen videos yet on metal detecting, right here's your guy, Digging It, Mark H. He said he has a YouTube channel here with videos that he's posting, and are you doing primarily Revolutionary War digging there, Mark? Last time I metal detected, let's see. Last time I metal detected, I found a musket ball from 1798 that was fired at the British soldiers. Wow. Man, that's something else right there. Where was that at? Does anybody get out there to those antique stores and go digging around those antique stores for junk? That's where I get a lot of stuff too. I look for photographs with names attached to them so I can try to tie them back to people in history. Getting prepared here for the next video. Like I said, tomorrow I got a video coming up on Petersburg, the Battle of the Crater. Going to have a live premiere, 5:30 p.m. My farm in Ireland. My neighbor's field had 3 British soldiers killed in it. Irish rebellion. Oh, wow. It's pretty amazing. Have an ancestor, Terence Hatton. He shortened the name when he came to the U.S. He was from Carrickmore in County Tyrone, and served with 10th Ohio. Okay. West B28. I can't find much about on Fold 3 except general info. Really? Meaning generals or general information? The American Civil War information is kind of hard to find because the documentation wasn't the greatest, especially if you were a Southern soldier. But the American Civil War information that's out there on the Union soldiers is usually pretty good. I also highly recommend, even though it's kind of crazy, Ancestry.com. You get an account on there, you can actually get photographs of documents that people submit, and I actually submit things that I find. So if I purchase stuff like, I've got this document here, I'm going to show you. It's a historical item, very delicate. So this is from the Civil War. This is from May 1864. And it's just a simple slip talking about items that were given out to civilians during the American Civil War. And it's signed by, it looks like Frank J. Locke in place of Governor Warren. And it's a pretty neat item to have. And what I do is I snap photographs of these things and I post them on Ancestry. So in case people are looking for stuff like that, I attach it to a person. And then you can go back and look at that person and find that document underneath that person's name. Readout. Readouts in the house, y'all. Have you tried Research Arsenal? Oh yeah, Research Arsenal. It's a database built by living historians. By no means complete, but they're always growing. Muster rolls, ordnance records, etc. Yeah, that's good. That's good to know right there for everybody. Have not, but now I will. Awesome. That's what this is all about. And like I said, we'll start doing some more of these from time to time. I think Friday afternoons is probably a good time to do this. In August, I have a live stream coming up with Boss Wooldridge, who was the commanding officer, United States Navy Blue Angels, twice. He is also one of the executives on the new Blue Angel movie that just came out not too long ago that you can now watch on your streaming devices, and that was once in theater. And we have a little bit of a connection because I was also on the Blue Angels a long time ago. It seems like forever now. So we're going to have that on here. But we'll try to have some more live streams here on Friday afternoons for followers to come on and talk and chat a little bit with each other and with me. And we can just go through the motions. And, you know, every time somebody brings up a good idea, I'm jotting that stuff down. So be looking for some more stuff on the Irish and some South Carolina videos coming up here pretty soon too. But we're going to push off of here. It's already been 30 minutes and it seems like it was only 2 seconds. So I appreciate everybody popping on here and making a comment. And if you come across this live stream and it's just a video, it's no longer a live stream, you can place comments in the comment section and I will get on and reply to those comments. And I will take that information down too. It's always helpful for any content creator out there to place a comment in there to try to sharpen their skills or to give them new ideas, or even just to say, hey, thanks, I appreciate the video. Those comments help out. And sharing the videos with your friends help out. It helps grow the channel. And we're all in this together. So we'll see you guys around. I appreciate the chat, everybody. Till next time, see you on the field. Now, I couldn't think of a better place to end this video than right here in the middle of the woods, the Battle of the Wilderness, at the hotly contested Brocken Plank Road, Orange Plank Road. Not too far in that direction, Longstreet's wounded. Right here where I'm at right now is a place where men like Wadsworth and Hayes end up losing their lives. Families lose loved ones. Soldiers burned to death in these fields around me here. If you'll let these fields do it, they'll touch your soul.